Anthropological evidence shows that humans were already catching deep-water fish over 42,000 years ago. While we still scavenge the depths of the seas for these fish, our methods and the ecological footprint they leave behind have changed drastically. Today, fish total 17% of the global protein intake, and in coastal regions, this number reaches over 70%. These statistics correlate to a recurring theme in ecopolitics of unsustainable environmental practices most affecting underdeveloped or developing regions. As it stands, poorer countries are the most dependent on fisheries. Due to an exponential increase in global population and demand for fish, bottom trawling has been an effective method to catch huge numbers of targeted fish. However, huge bycatch numbers and the destruction of marine organisms bring the integrity of this fishing method into question, mainly within the sphere of ecological justice. This presentation explores the way in which bottom trawling is extremely detrimental to the health of our environment, ecotourism, and local fisheries, and why it should be banned globally. First, let's go over some facts regarding the state of our oceans. Oceans cover more than 70% of the surface of our planet, and as much as 95% of the world's oceans remain unexplored. Today, an estimated 1 billion people worldwide depend upon fish and shellfish as their main source of protein. The World Wildlife Fund has reported that, due to this exploitation of our waters, a nearly 50% decline in marine life populations has occurred just between 1970 and 20. Moreover, it is estimated that 75% of remaining coral reefs are currently threatened, and many have already been lost. Bottom trawling is a form of mass fishing that involves dragging a large net across or just above the bottom of the seabed. Bottom trawl nets can be used to catch fish living in extreme depths of up to 6,000 feet. Bottom trawling has many major environmental consequences. The metal trawl doors and heavy nets, which are dragged along the sea floor, crush bottom-dwelling organisms, plant roots, and marine burrows. Dragging all this heavy equipment along the seabed also rearranges the seabed sediment, and the stirring of the ocean floor's composition changes the chemistry of the water. This alters the water's nutrient levels, and it also causes some sediments to float upwards. Floating sediments limit the amount of light able to reach the seafloor, which disturbs ocean-dwelling plants from photosynthesizing. This, along with the changing chemistry of the water, leads to losses in biodiversity. Another big environmental consequence is bycatch, which is the incidental capture of non-target species. Once the enormous nets are emptied, unwanted species are often already dead and are simply thrown back into the ocean. This is a primary cause for overfishing. In 2007, 800 million pounds of marine life was trawled. Up to 90% of catches are discarded, rendering this practice totally unsustainable. Bottom trawling also affects local fisheries. Local fishermen often aren't even targeting the same fish as trawlers. However, due to the trawlers' massive amounts of bycatch, local catches still declined by about 40% since the introduction of trawling. This blow is most devastating to local fishers in developing countries, where the effort to ban bottom trawling is its least effective. Bottom trawling also negatively affects tourism, and is especially detrimental for countries that are highly dependent on ocean-based tourism. Because this destructive fishing method dramatically lowers marine animal and plant populations, many countries' oceans-based tourism potential is lowered. The central industry of fisheries technology developed the semi-pelagic trawl system as a less destructive way to catch bottom-dwelling fish. Typical bottom trawls are dragged along the ocean floor, doing considerable damage to corals and other vital habitats for deep-sea life. However, this system is specifically designed to operate at some distance above the bottom of the ocean floor, yielding the same results with lesser consequence. While accidental bycatch as well as certain degree of damage to the seabed may still occur, it is still considerably less destructive when compared to traditional bottom trawls. Hot and trap designs are usually constructed of either a metal or wood frame with wire mesh or fabric netting, and have entrances that allow the desired catch to enter but usually not escape. Bait is lowered to the bottom of the trap where it sits until the trap is reeled back aboard. They ultimately cause little to no damage to the ocean floor. A great alternative to bottom trawling is modern fish farming, which allows for desired species of fish to be bred in an enclosed environment and thus protect the seafloor from bottom trawling nets. Recirculating closed systems treat and recycle the wastewater they produce, and these systems have minimal environmental impact. While other farming methods are available in practice, the recirculating enclosed circuit seems to leave the smallest ecological footprint. While putting an end to bottom trawling is still a huge struggle in the realm of ecological justice, a number of national restrictions and bans have been implemented to limit the amount of trawls. For example, the Western Pacific Fishery Management has bottom trawling banned in 1.5 million square miles around Hawaii and other Pacific islands in U.S. waters. Many governments, organizations, and unions are working hard to make bottom trawling a thing of the past, setting forth regulations and laws with concern for the practice. With so many viable alternatives to bottom trawling, it's time for the world to view this practice as outdated and irresponsible. The consequences that trawling has on ocean life, marine ecosystems, fisheries, tourism, and ultimately the planet far outweigh the rewards. It has become clear that bottom trawling has no place in an environmentally mindful society like the one we continue to work so relentlessly to establish.